Well, good evening and welcome back once again. It's been a whole month, but we're back as the Bite by Bite, a journey into the living in the gift of the divine will. I'm Larry Leopold, and as I say, I'm a Carmelite, and I'm also a spiritual director. For the last month of May, we've been spending time day by day giving you meditations from the Virgin Mary and the Kingdom of the Divine Will. I hope they were helpful. For tonight, we wanted to spend some time and talk about the simplicity of the gift of living in the divine will. And it's so important for us to understand because there's so much information in the Book of Heaven and all that we've learned and all the different presenters and then the hours of the Passion, the Virgin Mary, and the Kingdom of the Divine Will. But all of this becomes quite simple as we become simple. Jesus does not do difficult things. The divine will does not do hard things. Everything becomes simplicity when we become simple. We're supposed to become like God. This is the whole journey in the gift of the divine will, the love affair of it. God is the most simple being in the universe. What does that mean? Well, the simplicity of God is not like how the world and the human will has come to use the word simple, which has been almost like a derogatory term, almost demeaning, almost like naivete. And yet, isn't that just like the human will to do that? No, the simplicity of God means that he is one. He has no parts. It means that God is not made up of a bit of love, some goodness, maybe mercy, justice, and power. No. He is love. He is goodness. He is mercy. He is justice and power, all in one, just as the Trinity is one. How often do we take the Trinity and we try to break it down to understand the components of it so we can make sense of it. But the reality of it is God is love. It doesn't get simpler or more beautiful than that. And as we get drawn more and more into the Trinity, intimate with it, and allow it to dwell in intimacy within us, we're being drawn into that love. And we who have been fragmented in all our pieces by that departure from the divine will that Adam did so long ago, that he was one, made whole with a heart that beat with the divine will. And in that natural state of love and gratitude, his first words were, "I love you, Father. Thank you for making me." We need to return to that simplicity. The very simplicity of God means that every attribute of his love, his gentleness, all of that we describe God is identical with the oneness of his being, of his essence. He has no parts. So for us, who with the human will have so many different pieces and parts that don't belong and give us so much misery, we need to learn how to let go of all of that. They're all obstacles that prevent the goodness and the light of God from just entering us unimpeded. And so tonight we have some reading from the Book of Heaven that I wanted to share with you so that we could have an opportunity to listen and become simple. So on August 10th, 1899, we read how Jesus says, "I communicate myself both to the humble and to the simple." Why? Because they immediately believe me in my graces, and so I take them into great consideration, though they may be ignorant and poor. And so it's no wonder that Our Lady, like Jesus, has gone to children so often, the little unknown and insignificant in the world, that the most mysterious and greatest graces have both been revealed and unveiled within them. And so he wants us to be that little, that humble, to be the nothing. And he says that simplicity is so beautiful that my heart remains wounded at one gaze alone of a simple soul. If you've been feeling that as we learn more and more the divine will, that it seems like too much to learn, so complicated, and you wonder whether you're called to this, know that you are. And that as we let go of all of our complexity, just believe and trust God, he will restore in us the simplicity that our belief needs to be. What did St. Thomas say? The great doubter, Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. And so we, with our trust and confidence in God, that comes now that you've heard and been wounded by this divine will. And when I say wounded, I mean in love, touched by the beauty of it, and wanting more and wanting God. That God leads us into that very simplicity, as we read now from July 31, 1906, as Jesus talks about the simplicity. He says, simplicity is to virtues as condiment is to foods. Well, I love it whenever he brings in foods, don't you? It's so real. He says, for a simple soul, there is neither keys nor doors to enter into me, nor are there for me to enter into her. Because from all sides she can enter into me and I into her. In other words, there's no walls. There's no passageways. She's an open book, the soul. Even more, and to say better, she finds in me without entering, because by her simplicity she comes to resemble me, who am the most simple spirit. How often do we think of God as being simple? He is the most simple being that all ever is and ever will be. And she comes, the soul who is simple, comes to resemble me because I am the most simple. And because of that, I am present everywhere, and nothing can escape my hand. A simple soul is like the light of the sun, pure, bright, full of grace. And so in spite of any fog, or of the fact that it passes through what may be rubbish, it remains always light. It gives light to all. It never changes. Simplicity is a great gift. In that same way, then, a simple soul, no matter what mortification or displeasure she may receive, does not cease to be light for herself and for those who have mortified her. And if she sees evil things, she does not become stained by seeing them, but remains always light. Nor does she change, because simplicity is that virtue which most resembles the divine being. God calls us into that littleness. I think of St. Therese, the little flower, right, whom we all love. In that childlike simplicity that she lived was so different from the brilliance and genius of her understanding of the human will and the need to let go of it. She became a doctor of the church through what John Paul II called the science of love. So she's our mystical doctor as well, because the divine will is love. And when it's that simple, you're close to the truth of it. When it's easy, because love is easy. Love makes all things easy, Jesus tells us in the book of heaven. Then all that you learn will fall into place and make complete sense. But if you try to analyze it, pull it apart, and figure it all out, then you're living in your head. And as my dear Roy Masters used to say, if you're living in your head, you're out of your mind. We have to live in our heart, where our will is, where our love is, where Jesus resides with the indwelling Trinity, which is simplicity itself. So on November 6th, we read in 1929, Jesus saying, "My daughter, my divine will simplifies the creature. It empties her so much of everything that does not belong to it, that nothing else is left of the human being but a complex of simplicity." How often do we want to hold on to our complexes, our complications, our sophistication, our education, and all the pretense and personas we like to erect that the human will wants in order to be acceptable and attractive or respected. Failed programs of the human will. God wants us simple. And in that simplicity, simple the gaze, he says, simple the word, simple the manners, the steps. He said the mark of divine simplicity can be seen in her as in a mirror. We reflect God, who is simple. Therefore, when my divine will reigns on earth, all pretense, lies, which can be called the origin of every evil, they will no longer exist, while simplicity, as the origin of every true good, will be the true characteristic that will point out that here reigns the divine will. You know, we hear about that era of peace, which Father Renuzzi teaches is coming. And we know that we are to prepare for it. Not preparing by storing and trying to save our skin, but by becoming as simple as God. As simple as God. Can you imagine? That sounds like a paradox. And it is. Right? But it's also our home. And how do we become simple? Through love. Through love, which has no self-reflection, no self-absorption, no self-centeredness. Letting go of the human will is to let go of all that troubles you and creates your misery. And as we look and see how this gift is being received in the world, do not be concerned about that either. Right? All these things Jesus tells us, inside of us and outside of us, they all come from him. They're for us to receive as gift without being affected, without being upset, but just with our fiat, knowing that God has full control of all of this, in you and outside of us. It's all gift. So in July 9th of 1930, Jesus tells us, regarding this divine will, he said that in spite of the oppositions and adverse judgments of authorities, he said, I will make my way. And if these, with their judgments, want to bury a good so great and so many lives of my truths, he said, I will put them aside, and I will make my way, disposing other people, more humble and simple, and who more easily believe in my admirable and multiple ways, which I use with souls. And with their simplicity, instead of finding quibbles and difficulties, they will recognize as gift of heaven what I have manifested on my divine will. And these will serve me in an admirable way to propagate in the world the knowledges about my fiat. Tonight, in this very short program, I just want to encourage you that the divine will is simple, and living it is easy. It's easy because as you love God, he makes all things easy. And it's easy because God in us, Jesus abiding in his real life in us, is the one doing it through us. We have to just get out of the way. That's why Jesus says we need to let go of the human will first. That's why our Blessed Mother, all month long, has been imploring you, let go of the human will, never follow it again. It is the source of the trouble. And so, as we allow Jesus to do and to be the doer in us, and we rest in him, in that peace and simplicity of love, then he can rest in us and create these divine acts which have all the power of God's creative fiat looks to change and restore all creatures, all of creation, back into its original design, making you the perfect version of you that he had always designed you to be. Free, unique, quirky as you are, full of your picadillos, purified into the beautiful you that you wants you to be. I hope this gives you a breath of relief and the freedom to embrace the simplicity that he created you to be. All right? With all the complexity of your personality, the simplicity is the oneness of you that Jesus prayed at the Last Supper. That oneness that we are to be one with him as he is one in the Father and the Father in him, that we may be also one in them. So as we come down to the end here, I just wanted to bring that old Shaker tune to mind and the lyrics of it that speak to this and speak to our coming round right to God. It goes this way. 'Tis a gift to be simple. 'Tis a gift to be free. 'Tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we will not be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning, we come round right. And how do we come round right? By not looking at our human will anymore. By letting our gaze be on he who is gazing on us. In that gaze of love with our Creator, our lover, Jesus. How hard is it to be caught in the gaze of love with him? We need to be always caught in that love. Luisa was. Luisa wrote several lullabies of love. I love this one on November 28th, 1920, where she wrote, "In every moment of every hour, I want to love you with all my heart. In every breath of my life, while breathing, I will love you. In every beat of my heart, love, love, I will repeat. In every drop of my blood, love, love, I will cry out. In every movement of my body, love alone I will embrace. Of love alone I want to speak. At love alone I want to look. To love alone I want to listen. Always of love I want to think. With love alone I want to burn. With love alone I want to be consumed. Only love I want to enjoy. Only love I want to content. And from love alone I want to live. Within love I want to die. In every instant, in every hour, I want to call everyone to love. Only and always together with Jesus, and in Jesus I shall live. Into his heart I will plunge myself, and together with Jesus and with his heart, love, love, I will love you." So that's for you, Melita. All right. And for all of you, that I've missed you so much. But now as we move forward, just know that this living in this gift of divine will is simple and easy when you let Jesus do it in you. And he just wants you to let go of all the attachments, the distractions, the wounds, all the complaints, all that bothers you. Give it to him. His arms are waiting to receive it. And with his mother and all the graces that she has to help you do this, to live in that simplicity of her fiat, that Jesus, in his garden surrender of his will, only your will do I wish. And in Luisa's fiat, that opened this gift to all of us. We ask all their graces, and with all our heart, we also say, fiat. So for tonight, I thank you again, and look forward to speaking to you next week. Until then, live and love in the divine will. God bless.